Welcome to our Towns Fund public meeting, which is being recorded. What I would like Surinder to do is what we normally do. Are there any guests that need to do any introductions first of all?
No, there's no guests with us today.
Okay. Any declarations of interest other than the standard ones?
No.
On the agenda items? Okay, Surinder, could you kindly go through the minutes for us?
Yeah,
page
sure.
by page.
Yeah, just bear with me. Just open up the correct page. Can you guys see this? Just bear with me. This meeting took place on Wednesday, November the 6th, 2024, and this is page 1. And we're on to page 2. Page 3. And the meeting ended at 14:45.
Thank you for that, Surinder. Is there any alterations, anything in the minutes that we think need amending? Otherwise, we'll declare them as a true reflection of the meeting. Okay, no hands up, Surinder. So we'll take that as a true reflection of the minutes that took place. Can I have somebody just to second them for me, please? Show of a hand will help. Thank you, Carl. Okay, thank you very much, Surinder. So can we move on to the agenda items, bringing in, first of all, Rupert as chair of Bloxwich Advisory Board, just to go through an update.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Chair. I thought this time, having given quite a short update last time, I'd be a little bit more expansive, but just really to kind of get an overview of everything without consuming too much time. So, but because it's quite good to see the big picture and to see what in the round is going on and has already been achieved. So, start with there are 5 programs, and probably the first one just to mention is what we call the Active Travel and Connectivity Program, and improvements to the canal towpaths in partnership with the Canals and River Trust were completed some time ago and have been well received by the public, according to a survey that was carried out afterwards. Road junction improvements, including 2 new pedestrian crossings, have been installed. The widening of the bridge next door to HomeServe on the A34 is now complete, and that creates a new, safer footpath for pedestrians to use and was much needed. There's a slight delay in the supply installation of the new bus shelters along the A34, but that is all in hand and will be completed during the coming financial year. Wayfinding and lighting improvements to Bloxwich Town Centre will also be completed, so quite a lot there. The construction skills through regeneration programme, the innovative way of gap funding to kickstart projects has been been used as a template, and it's been sort of very satisfactory. In fact, the previously derelict car parks and garage sites in Bloxwich work is now on site there, constructing 10 new affordable homes, which will be then made available for rent through Walsall Housing Group. There are other sites also being considered at the moment for gap funding to get things going on projects which otherwise just would stall. They wouldn't get off the ground. So it's unlocking, funding and work that otherwise wouldn't happen. There's a very significant program which is also in the final stages of contracting, so we're not able to talk about it now, but it will also deliver training and employment opportunities as a spin-off to the main purpose of the project. So all works they do include a requirement for purchasing, local purchasing where possible, and training and employment opportunities for local people. Community capital program, third one. The board has previously approved applications from 5 community-based organisations to carry out improvements to the buildings that they occupy. The team are now working to finalise the details and so that the work can be tendered and get on with. So that's all positive. And Bloxwich Launchpad, which is really sort of nearly there. This is create a new incubation space and digital access centre for local people, right in the heart of Bloxwich town centre by the marketplace, the old post office building. Work's going on there at the moment, and there's a April-May opening. So the team is working with key partners and stakeholders to design the actual delivery content, and there's an open day there in February. So that's looking really good. Green Bloxwich, the final one. This aims to carry out significant improvements to the local parks, which Bloxwich Park, Memorial Gardens, Leamore Park, and also King George V Park. The designs have been produced based on feedback from local people and park users, and planning permission is being sought and then tendering, and this is all expected to take place within the time scale. So that's my overview, Chair. Hopefully that's given you everybody a good running kind of feel of where we are in very broad terms.
Thank you very much, Rupert. Any questions for Rupert concerning the update? Thank you very much. Could I then move forward with Carl? Carl, could you give us an update on the Walsall?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. So the Walsall Advisory Board, we met, and there will be some overlap here in regards to some of the things that Rupert's mentioned, in the sense that obviously we join up on some of this, particularly around the active travel. So just to give an update on the last Advisory Board meeting. So we met on the 8th of January, and we went through the usual scripted agenda, in the sense that we started off around the financial risk and programming. The actions from the last meeting regarding updates to the registers and financial reporting, making sure that the project leads and officers are doing that all seemed in good check, and we seem to be on top of that now, very much so. There has been some slight slippage in some of the projects, but that's generally being closely monitored and managed by the officers and project leads. In some instances, the officers have been able to unlock some of the aligned funding opportunities to further enhance some of these projects. So again, sometimes it's that bit that I've mentioned before, where sometimes a pause is required to take into consideration some of the other things that are happening around us and some of the other funding pieces, to try and join up the dots. And the officers, I think, are commended on that, in the fact that there's a number of these things that by bringing that stuff together, it allows these things to happen as opposed to not. So I think that's a really important play that's going on behind the scenes. The Verto reporting, we got, again, that platform is live and continues to provide the feed and the updates, and gives us the intelligence on the risk profiling of each of the projects. We had a marketing and communications update, and I think most of us have noticed the general surge of increased communications going out on various fronts and different channels, etc. And tied to that, we also got a little bit of an indication of the forward schedule looking ahead for 25-26, and then to sort of focus both on the projects and some of the outputs that are happening. There's talk of coordination use of CGI, and obviously we've seen some of that in some of the planning and some of the communications. Again, in terms of really to try and tap into the opportunity of using the partners within the groups and forums to then extend that messaging wherever possible. So that's sort of a reach out from Natasha to try and, for all of us to try and keep people's eyes on some of this stuff, to make sure that it is kept fresh in the mind and the positives around it. On the joint Bloxwich and Walsall projects, again, I'm going to be a little bit overlapping here with Rupert to some degree, but so Ray Bowles, bridge pedestrian, I think he covered to some degree with regards to the improved access to pushchairs and wheelchairs, even easier, safer access to from the Canal Green Lane up to the residential area. The team, again, commended here that, you know, lots of notifications, engagement with the communities, etc. I mean, most of the work is done, and as Rupert quite rightly pointed out, there's a bit of a supply with delay with the supply chain on the bus shelters. Looking at complete spring 25, which I think he suggested, but again, it should be added that into this we've put improvements, innovations, and that, you know, that the messaging in terms of the boards and the live intelligence for live information, time information, etc. Again, trying to, you know, address some of these things to make it easier for people, you know, take some of those barriers away. So again, you know, commended on the elements to some of this stuff as well as what actually comes out from the project overall. Community capital, again, in terms of the funding pot, I think we reported we had a little over 101k, but that's moved a bit because there's been some obviously different things going on all the time progress wise. As a profile, Walsall had less money, but from the point of view of project outputs, we've actually delivered more projects. Now they are smaller and in nature and what have you, but it is generally felt that actually the benefits to that and some of the nature of what Walsall actually needs, they've addressed some of those issues quite well. So in other words, we're getting good outputs from smaller projects as such in terms of that. So I think again, you know, it's about balancing it right. It's about tailoring it to what's required rather than just a one-fit-all solution approach. So again, good efforts on that front. Good interventions from the team as well, again, in supporting some of those providers and providing and avoiding some of the pitfalls on the path there in some of the challenges and complexities in that work. Jump to active learning centres. So we're aware that there's been lots and lots of conversations about this. There's been challenges and struggles around design and funding, etc. But again, you know, moving this into elements within the Connected Gateway scheme or what have you, again, I believe from some of the avenues and feedback from the officers, you know, we're sort of getting back on track with some of this stuff. We're just changing the program a little bit around on the timing to accommodate all the bits and pieces. But again, very much sort of on the flight path and progressing, you know, as well as can be expected. Active public spaces, I think I've covered, although we've seen more visibility on the updated designs, considerations of sustainable drainage to the areas, etc. Again, making the whole space, you know, more user-friendly, more environmentally, more accessible, you know, taking the considerations that we need to take in as a modern, you know, town that's providing the facilities and services to the community. Creative industries, there is some pressure for the team on that one, officers and the project lead. Jeff and the team doing a great job on that. Again, shortfall in the piece that's been mapped, we're aware of it, we know what's going on. Again, effort and work through the value engineering that's dropped that. And again, from what I understand, we should be beginning in about March 2025 on that particular element. Again, credit commitment and credit to the various teams involved now, because they have had some serious hurdles to overcome because of the nature of the building and the heritage and all the various things that come with those sort of wonderful sort of projects. You know, they have had to jump through an enormous amount of barriers and hurdles, and they've done an excellent job of that. Digital skills, we didn't really have to talk too much because obviously it's open and it's active and what have you. We obviously Tony's retired, so we're now got Sati as the new hub manager in there, and I believe everything is going well from what I'm hearing. The only point I would like to add, just as a final conclusion to this, and it's tied to some of the other projects as well, and that is that although, you know, these projects and that successful is really important in what we do here and everything else, we must also continue to ensure that we're maximising their best efforts in whatever way we can, you know, in terms of making people aware of these centres, you know, trying to bring in collaborations or partners to utilise and optimise or whatever the case may be. And I just, looking at the slight risk adjustment on the hub as an example, where the footfall has just been triggered as a change, you know, that for me is a call to arms for all of us to try and think about how we can try and support that and how we can in some way bring more attention to it, more footfall, you know, and you know, not only just sort of hope on the success, we assure it, and we assure it by the activities and that we all do to try and contribute. Sorry, Chair, I went on a little bit there. That's my update from Walsall.
Thank you very much, Carl, for the detail around Walsall and the advisory board. Is there any questions for Carl? Show of hands. Thank you for that, Carl. So I'm sure the board will like to commend the advisory board's work and the teams that have pulled things together. I'm hearing that from both boards. There's a lot of work going on in the background to give us the assurances that we need as a board. And unless there's any other matters arising, which I don't think were brought to the attention of this public meeting, I would like to close the meeting now. So if we could stop the recording.
Okay.